Hello and welcome. We're about to do a deep dive into a powerful framework that some of you are already familiar with, the three blessings. Today, we're going under the hood to see how it all works.
Right, so we've talked about the what before, those three main pathways for blessings. But this explainer is all about the how. I mean, really, how do these big ideas actually play out in real life? What are the nuts and bolts, the specific inner workings, that can turn these ideals into something tangible for us, for our families, and even for our entire nation? That's what we're getting into today.
Here's our roadmap. We're going to start with the foundation, which is you, the individual. Then we'll move to the family, then zoom out to the economy. After that, we'll see how all these pieces fit together, and we'll wrap up by looking at the historical impact of it all.
All right, first up, the individual. The source material talks about this first blessing as becoming fruitful. It's not about just sitting back and waiting for good things to happen. No, this is about the active, ongoing effort to cultivate personal virtue to really grow as a person.
So, how do you do that? Well, here are the inner workings, the specific things you can focus on to optimize this first blessing. And the idea here is really powerful. It suggests that when the people of a nation decide to consciously improve in any of these areas, say they become more honest or they work on healing, the entire society gets a lift. On the flip side, if these things are allowed to weaken, social decay isn't just a possibility, it's pretty much inevitable. Let's dig into a couple of these.
Let's start with a big one, upholding core community values. Think of this as the social glue. For any society to work, we have to agree on some basics, right? Like we don't steal from each other, we don't lie to each other constantly. Without that fundamental layer of trust, everything else just falls apart.
And this isn't some new idea, of course. This wisdom from Proverbs chapter 11, verse 3, lays it out perfectly. Integrity guides and builds up, while deceit tears down and destroys. It's a straightforward principle of cause and effect that's as true today as it was thousands of years ago.
Now fast forward to more recent times and you find the same idea. Thinkers like the philosopher John Rawls have argued that a society simply can't function without shared principles of justice and fairness. It's the bedrock. So you have this amazing parallel between ancient scripture and modern philosophy, both saying the same thing: shared values are non-negotiable for a healthy community.
Okay, let's look at another one of these inner workings that might seem deeply personal but has huge social implications: healing personal traumas. The source material doesn't see our psychological wounds as just baggage. Instead, it frames them as potential pathways to incredible growth and resilience. It's about turning our pain into our purpose. You can see this perspective beautifully laid out in Romans chapter 5. It describes this chain reaction. Suffering isn't the end of the story. It can lead to endurance. That endurance forges character, and that hard-won character is what gives birth to a real, unshakable hope. It completely reframes hardship as a vital part of our development. And what's just fascinating is that modern psychology has caught up to this ancient wisdom. There's a whole field of study around what's called post-traumatic growth. Researchers like Tedeschi and Calhoun have shown through data that people who go through major challenges can come out the other side with a deeper appreciation for life, better relationships, and a profound sense of their own strength. It's incredible scientific validation for the idea that our biggest struggles can become our greatest assets. Okay, so from the individual, let's zoom out to the family unit. The second blessing is all about the family, which the source describes as the absolute core nucleus for raising the next generation. It's seen as a kind of sanctuary, a safe place where children can be nurtured and truly flourish. And just like the first blessing, this one has its own set of inner workings designed to make it as strong as possible. The argument is that these specific behaviors, things like a lifelong commitment in marriage, faithfulness, and real teamwork, create the most stable and loving environment for kids. And when families work on these things, they're not just strengthening their own home, they're building the basic cell of a healthy society.
The biblical model for this is laid out right here. This passage from Genesis, chapter 2, verse 24, which, by the way, Jesus himself quotes in the book of Matthew, sets the standard for a lifelong monogamous union. It's presented as the very cornerstone upon which a stable, protective family is meant to be built.
So that's the principle. But how does it play out in the real world? Well, the data is pretty compelling. Decades of sociological research, like the work cited here from The Case for Marriage, consistently show a clear pattern. Children raised in stable, married families tend to have better outcomes across the board, in health, in education, in their social lives. This reinforces the framework's claim that these specific inner workings are crucial for the well-being of the next generation.
All right, let's shift gears again. From the family, we now look at the broader society through the lens of the third blessing. This is about our role as stewards, which basically translates into building a dynamic, ethical, and thriving economy for everyone.
And here are the inner workings for that economic engine. Think of these as the essential ingredients for a prosperous and just society. It's a holistic approach where individual rights, fair laws, innovation, and even environmental care all have to work together. The core idea is that an economy really takes off when it honors every person's right to use their talents and enjoy the fruits of their labor.
Now, one of these pillars is absolutely critical: protective legislation. Why? It all comes down to trust and predictability. As the Nobel Prize-winning economist Douglas North showed, you can't have long-term economic growth without strong institutions, especially the rule of law and the protection of property rights. I mean, why would you build a business or invest for the future if you thought someone could just come and take it all away? These rules create the safety net that allows for innovation and progress.
Okay, this is where it all comes together in a really beautiful way. We've looked at the individual, the family, and the economy as separate pieces. But how do they connect? How do all these personal goals actually add up to build a strong nation?
This chart really connects the dots. What's so elegant about this framework is how it aligns what's good for you with what's good for everyone. Let's walk through it. Your personal goal to grow and become fruitful, that creates the very energy and creativity that builds a thriving society. Your deeply personal drive to raise and protect your kids, that serves the massive social purpose of moving all of humanity forward. And your everyday mission to work hard and provide for your family, that fuels the economic development of your entire community. It's a vision where your success and society's success are not in competition. They're two sides of the same coin.
So, for our final section, let's zoom all the way out. Let's put this framework into a historical context. The source material argues that these aren't just nice ideas on paper, they are principles that have actively shaped the world we live in.
The source puts forward a pretty bold argument here. It suggests that the incredible burst of development seen in the West over the last 4 centuries wasn't some historical accident. The idea is that this progress was directly fueled by generations of people who, whether they knew it or not, were consistently working on these inner workings, improving their character, strengthening their families, and innovating in their economies.
So how did this happen? The idea is that the biblical narrative itself acted like a cultural engine. It promoted and valued the very behaviors needed for a healthy society to emerge, things like diligence, honesty, and family stability. And according to this view, it was those values, practiced over centuries, that created the fertile soil where modern democracies could finally take root and grow.
And this story doesn't just stop in the West. The source points to fascinating research from the sociologist Robert Woodbury. His work shows how missionaries were key in spreading many of these inner workings around the world. By introducing things we take for granted now, like mass education, the concept of individual dignity, and fair legal systems, they helped lay the groundwork that allowed many former colonies to develop so quickly after they gained independence.
But this historical view comes with a serious warning. If this framework helps build societies up, it stands to reason that taking it apart has consequences. If the inner workings start to erode, if things like marital norms break down, if community values like honesty fade, or if the economy is stifled, the risk is not just that we stop progressing. The risk is that we go backward, towards social decay and even more authoritarian systems of government. The health of a democracy is seen as directly linked to the health of these principles.
Now you might be listening to all this and thinking, wow, this sounds completely impossible. Nobody can do all this perfectly. And you'd be absolutely right. It's crucial to understand that this is presented as an ideal, a high bar that's ultimately unreachable. But its power doesn't come from being perfected. The power is in the striving. It's in voluntarily aiming for this higher goal. Because in doing that, we become co-creators, each of us playing a part in building a better, more flourishing nation for everyone.
So I'll leave you with this question to think about. If these are the inner workings that have historically helped build strong, free nations, then it forces us to look around today and ask a tough question. Which of these are we actively strengthening in our own communities, and which ones are we, maybe without even realizing it, allowing to decay? It's definitely something worth thinking about. Thank you for joining me.